Roblox is not built for horror. I don't think that's an outrageous thing to say. Past a lot of the internal issues Roblox has, especially with its player base, Roblox isn't an inherently scary site. There's the front page games that are super stylized and bright that borrow from the themes of horror, but it never really fully commits to the genre. Beyond those games though, that average thousands of players are the more indie games on Roblox, at least about as indie as you can get on a site like Roblox. They're much more dedicated to trying to make you fly out of your chair, but they fall victim to the same issues the horror game industry has always suffered from. Bloated design, random jump scares, and incredibly loud noises that prove more annoying than scary. I'm going off what the tier list gave to me. Oh wow, that was something, alright. What was that? I must be seeing things. These games aren't outright bad, they have passion, but it's incredibly raw and volatile passion. It was this passion, though, that led me last year to try and make a YouTube video in time for Halloween tier listing over 100 Roblox horror games. Ignore the date on this video and the date on your computer. I know that video never came out. The point is that aside from the insane space those videos are taking up on my computer, the tier list I had used directed me towards the weirder and somehow even more underground scene of Roblox horror games. And atop that pile sat today's game, Kagutaba.
The video you are about to watch was filmed by a priest on January 22nd, 2001. He is still missing.
You are a priest. Your reason as to why you're exploring this deep into rural Japan is unknown. The only sounds that seem to accompany you are the distant howls of wolves that rise and fall in pitch, and the sounds of crickets that linger in the abyss surrounding the shrine, Shimukage Shrine. This place, once most likely filled with worshippers and bursting with vibrant life, now stands alone and completely silent. The entrance locked tight with chains, the paper charms tattered from age, and its wooden beams rotted. The shrine's affinity with dogs leaves watchful statues that dot about the entrance. There's no records explaining what happened here, no mention of when or why it was abandoned. It's simply a physical ghost of a previous time. As you step closer, guided only by the faint glow of your flashlight, an unsettling feeling buries itself inside of your mind. It's as if the shrine was waiting for you underneath the pitch black sky. Kagutaba captures the strange, dreamlike horror of an old PS1 game, where the limitations of the visuals seem to distort and corrupt everything around you. This style comes from another Roblox horror game, Zol's Cinema Slasher, a now, as far as I've been able to tell, private game that takes heavy inspiration from Puppet Combo, even using some similar sound design to set the atmosphere. Regardless, this game was intentionally made to not look like Roblox. The gameplay loop involves you slowly moving through Shimukage Shrine as you pick apart the corpse of the building. Discarded pinwheels, loose change, a missing poster for a young lost child, a missing child who's been gone for nearly half a decade. Eventually finding a pair of bolt cutters and forcing your way within this decrepit, abandoned place, you're now amidst a torn apart room. Not too far from the entrance rests a cold, unused blade and instructions for a long-forgotten ritual. It's here, at this point, that Kagutaba's true identity slowly begins to bubble to the surface. This isn't just another haunted shrine, instead it's something more deliberate. Noroi the Curse is a Japanese horror film directed by Koji Shiraishi that lingers with you long after the end credits roll. The story surrounds a forgotten ritual, a lost child, and a growing sense of dread that surrounds a demon, or perhaps something much worse, named Kagutaba. It's here that the Roblox game Kagutaba gets its influence. That's not to immediately discredit the Roblox game. Kagutaba does more than enough to stand on its own 2 feet. While it does wear the inspiration of the movie openly, the game carves out its own identity through its subtle storytelling and the creative decisions Noroi took to build it. Rather than feeling like a copy, Kagutaba feels like a respectful echo. It's a reimagining of Noroi the Curse's core ideas through the lens of Roblox's retro lo-fi fidelity charm. In addition to that low fidelity charm, the game never shouts, it just whispers. Slowly, unsettling details emerge as you discover them across Shimokage Shrine to piece together a story that the game never fully tells you. It leaves blanks for you to fill in yourself, not too dissimilar from the movie. In order to fully understand why all of this works so well, we need to look at Noroi, the curse. Masafumi Kobayashi is a respected paranormal investigator renowned for documenting Japan's darkest supernatural mysteries. While creating his final documentary titled The Curse, Kobayashi vanished mysteriously, leaving behind only the charred ruins of his home and the lifeless body of his wife, Keiko. The only surviving evidence of what transpired lies within Kobayashi's disturbing footage, meticulously documented by his cameraman, Miyajima. 18 months prior, Kobayashi investigated Junko Ishii and her son after neighbors reported the haunting drone of babies crying emanating from her home. Initially met with hostility by Ishii, Kobayashi returns to find that she has randomly disappeared, leaving her home filled ominously with dead pigeons scattered throughout the property. Shortly afterward, Ishii's neighbor and her young daughter perish in a bizarre head-on collision.
奥さんの運転ミスって話だけど
Around the same time, Kana Yano, a young girl who has recently gained attention for her psychic abilities on a Japanese variety show, suddenly vanishes. Kobayashi takes an interest in Kana, interviewing her mother and uncovering details about her daughter's psychic powers prior to the disappearance. Kana leaves behind only a disturbing paper marked with frantic seals and charms, the back bearing her frightened handwriting. Kobayashi's search for the young psychic leads him to Mitsuru Hori, a self-proclaimed psychic severely impaired by his own abilities. Hori's paranoia-filled rants about ectoplastic worms dragging Kana away only seem to deepen the mystery. During an intense session with Hori, video footage distorts horribly as he manages to sketch a crude map that Kobayashi believes indicates Kana's location. Following Hori's cryptic guidance, Kobayashi discovers an apartment belonging to a mysterious man named Osawa, who obsessively collects pigeons, not too dissimilar from Junko Ishii. Days later, Osawa also vanishes. It becomes clear that Hori's map was potentially indicating Kana's location, but it also revealed the gravesite of another victim. As the disappearances multiply and the curse escalates, actress Marika Matsumoto also becomes entangled, repeatedly sleepwalking to compulsively craft intricate loops from yarn and wire. Kobayashi, tasked with aiding Marika, sets up hidden cameras throughout her apartment. That night, a chilling voice whispers a single word that is barely captured by the cameras. Determined, Kobayashi dives deeper, consulting historians and linguistics experts until discovering Kagutaba is an ancient demon once worshipped and feared in the remote village of Shimokage. The village performed rituals to appease the demon until the construction of a dam that forced the villagers to move elsewhere. Their final ritual in 1978 ended catastrophically. The priest's daughter, dressed as Kagutaba, violently spiraled into madness, seemingly possessed. This possessed girl was none other than Junko Ishii. The whispered name, the bizarre pigeon occurrences, and the mysterious disappearances compel Kobayashi to confront Junko once more in her new home in Mikaishi village. Met again with violent rejection, Kobayashi persistently interviews former Shimokage residents. Yet, at the mere mention of Kagutaba, residents inexplicably shut down.
カグタバの呪いだっていう噂があるっていうのをちょっと人から聞いたんですけども、どうなんですかね。あ、ちょっとすいません。
Kobayashi's investigation finally yields results when an old colleague of Ishii's reveals a grim secret. Both women previously worked at a now closed clinic, notorious for performing procedures that would end pregnancies as late as 22 weeks. Rumors surfaced that Ishii secretly stole aborted embryos from the clinic. The situation escalates further. Marika's neighbor Midori is found hanging as a part of a mass suicide alongside 6 others, including Osawa. Each victim's noose eerily mirroring Marika's sleep-crafted loops. Terayuki Yano, Kana's father, brutally murders his wife in a sudden fit of violence. Desperate, Marika accompanies Kobayashi, Miyajima, and an increasingly unstable Hori to the abandoned Shimokage Dam, hoping a ritual might free her from Kagutaba's grasp, but the ritual goes horribly wrong. Hori becomes psychotic. He begs Kobayashi to flee. Amidst the chaos, Kobayashi chases after Hori as his psychotic delusions draw him into a nearby forest. Moments later, during Marika and Miyajima's escape from the site, Marika falls under a violent possession and disappears into the forest. Kobayashi and Hori discover a grotesque scene of slaughtered dogs stacked around a secluded shrine. Marika abruptly recovers, but Kobayashi and Hori witness a spectral vision of Kana grotesquely surrounded by writhing unborn babies. Driven by a need for answers, Kobayashi and Miyajima infiltrate Ishii's home. Inside, they find Ishii hanging lifelessly, Kana dead nearby, and Ishii's young son strangely unharmed. Disturbingly, it emerges that the child is not Ishii's biological son. Kobayashi, moved by pity and perhaps a dark curiosity, adopts the boy. Returning to his historian contact, Kobayashi uncovers the horrifying truth. Kagutaba's original summoning ritual involved feeding sacrificed baby monkeys to a medium, a ritual Ishii attempted to recreate using stolen embryos, and Kana force-feeding the embryos to the little girl. Marika fully recovers, while Hori descends into madness and is institutionalized, only to escape and mysteriously die the following day. Now, in the present day, paranormal investigator himself, Kobayashi, disappears. Months after his disappearance, a mysterious tape emerges documenting the night of the house fire, the same night Hori died. Now, to get something out of the way, the main antagonist of the movie shares the same name with the title of the Roblox game. The creator of the game shares the same name with the movie. In order to make everything easier going forward, I'm going to be referring to the movie as The Curse, the creator of the Roblox game still as Naroi, and the game will continue to be Kagutaba. Kagutaba, the Roblox game that had been inspired by the sinister lore of The Curse, traps players in an immersive nightmare that varies between 6 different endings. The first 2 endings of the game are relatively straightforward. Fail to properly complete the ritual, and Kagutaba emerges silently behind you and seals your fate. On the opposite side of the spectrum, should you succeed, an unsettling screech rings out from the distance. Bathed in the sickly red hue bleeding from the void, a pit previously closed now slides open. You're offered a fleeting chance at escape by returning to your car, or you can continue forward. Deep inside of this pit, decorated with charms and tags, is the bloated body of someone. Perhaps the child from the poster? A Shinshoku at the shrine? You aren't given much thought before a cultist appears behind you and bags your head. Off topic for 1 second, because this incredibly dark video needs a bit of a breather. The badge for this ending is actually titled Bottomless Pit. The description reads, "Falling out in tune, out my grooves I'm warping." It sounds incredibly ominous and cryptic. It is, up until you realize it's a reference to Death Grips and their album Bottomless Pit. The song Warping features the exact line, "Falling out in tune, out my grooves I'm warping." Asking Naroi a little bit more, they said that Ex-Military was their favorite Death Grips album. Darker mysteries do lurk around the map though. These 3 endings we've already talked about are the easy and basic ones that anyone can initially complete without looking too far into the game. Deeper now, scattered across the map, are 3 tiny pinwheels. They're easy to miss and not ever even pick up on your first couple playthroughs. These pinwheels, however, are incredibly important because they lead to what I would consider the true, or at the very least hidden, endings. Formerly called Kazuguruma, these pinwheels are often associated with cycles vehicles are children, seeing as they're typically used as simple toys. Quote, originally, I wanted to make several short horror games based on the scenes in Noroi. I ended up making only one game, but I thought it would be nice to include multiple endings instead of just one. The pinwheels were one of the things I came up with. These pinwheels, as mentioned earlier, are scattered all across the map, some in far corners and one even needing to be acquired from a small donation box. With all three Kazaguruma in hand, you can make your way back within the shrine to place them all, only to be met with... Most will hear that sound cue and think nothing much of it. It's a simple jingle that's meant to alert you that you've collected and planted all necessary pinwheels. Yeah, actually, Petscop has nothing really to do with Kagutaba. For those that are somehow unaware, Petscop is an internet series that follows a player through a corrupted and long forgotten game that just so happens to play this cue.
Hey, so, the door opened on its own.
Petscop and Kagutaba do share similar aspects though. Missing or deceased children, a style that heavily uses analog or old hardware at the very least, and a much slower pace to horror as opposed to blasting your face with loud noises. Without those things though, they really have no overlap. Noroi commented on the Petscop sound cue, going on to say, the sound is from Petscop. No overlapping themes I was thinking of, but I just like the sound. If you've secured all the pinwheels and correctly performed the ritual, during the scene where the cultist aims to kidnap and murder you, there's nobody at the bottom of the well. More importantly, upon turning to face the cultist, they're eradicated by the glowing white wailing spirit of one of the children. It's the best ending you could have gotten. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, collecting all the pinwheels and performing the ritual incorrectly brings you to the worst place imaginable. This time the pit seemingly has no bottom. The ground beneath you seems to squish as you take steps. You stand now in some abnormal reality. It would appear as if hundreds of thousands of bodies and souls are stacked upon each other. During the curse, Hori would have a particularly explosive breakdown that would cause the footage to distort and disrupt, revealing hundreds of blue faces and souls stacked atop each other. This is the manifestation of that video. Within this desolate hellscape stands a solitary torii gate, behind which sits a lone child. The child doesn't move, they don't speak, and they don't attempt to communicate with you. If you choose to interact with the child, you're given two options: take their mask or leave it. Performing the first action leads to the child releasing an ear-piercing screech. Leaving the mask spares you from the noise. Regardless, it ultimately proves meaningless. Both paths lead to the same grim eternity, being sealed forever in darkness. I don't know if it's obvious or not, but I like Kagutaba. It's an interesting Roblox game that stands on its own well enough, but leads to a rabbit hole that keeps getting deeper and deeper for me. Roblox to obscure Japanese media, and although not actually intended to have any deeper meaning, it extends to web series like Petscop. It's a gift that keeps giving and even references one of my favorite music groups. Thank you to Noroi for taking the time to respond to my questions. Their socials will be linked in the description, as well as Kagutaba. Please, you should check out the game. This video I feel does a good job at going over the game, but definitely doesn't translate the feeling of actually playing it. All those that got to the very end, thank you for watching. This is probably going to be the last long form video for a little bit. They're fun to make, but they take an incredibly long time, and it isn't something I want to constantly be doing. Regardless, thank you again for anybody who's continued to support me and this channel. It means a lot.